In the last episode, my companions and I had just emerged victorious from a grueling battle, but the weight of our triumph was tempered by the uncertainty of what lay ahead. A mysterious message from an unknown ally had set our sights on the abandoned Aetherian Outpost hidden deep within the treacherous Undercroft, sparking a glimmer of hope that we might uncover secrets and technologies lost to the ages. The message itself remained cryptic, but its promise of ancient knowledge and powerful artifacts had been enough to steel our resolve for the perils that lay ahead. As I stood at the edge of our makeshift camp, gazing out into the flickering torchlight that danced across the rugged terrain, I couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. The Undercroft was no place for the faint of heart, a labyrinthine network of tunnels and caverns that had swallowed countless expeditions whole. Yet, with the promise of the outpost beckoning like a siren's call, I knew we had to try. We need to move, I thought, my mind racing with the logistics of our journey. We can't afford to waste another day. My gaze fell on Lyrien, the brilliant explorer who had joined us just a few days prior. Her eyes sparkled with a fire that seemed to burn brighter with every step, and I knew that she was as eager as I was to unravel the secrets of the Undercroft. "What's your take on the tunnel system, Lyrien?" I asked, my voice low and urgent. Lyrien unfolded a rough map, her fingers tracing the twisting passages and caverns that lay hidden beneath our feet. "We can take the eastern route," she said, her voice steady. "It's the most direct path to the outpost, but it's also the most treacherous." I nodded, my heart pounding in my chest. We'd faced down countless dangers already, but something about the Undercroft seemed different. This place felt alive, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Kaida, our resourceful scavenger, shifted uncomfortably, her eyes darting towards the darkness that seemed to press in on us from all sides. "You sure this is worth it, Alex?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I took a deep breath, the weight of our quest settling heavy on my shoulders. "We have to try, Kaida. For everyone we've lost, for everyone who's still suffering, we owe it to ourselves and to Aetheria to see this through." The silence that followed was oppressive, punctuated only by the distant rumble of seismic shifts and the faint scuttling of unknown creatures through the darkness. And then, without warning, the ground lurched beneath our feet, sending us stumbling. A low rumble built in intensity, growing louder by the second. The earthquake was coming. "We have to get out of here," Lyrien yelled, grabbing my arm and pulling me towards the tunnel entrance. But as we stumbled through the darkness, the world around us crumbling, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being herded towards some unknown fate, and that the Undercroft had secrets waiting for us that would change everything. Previously, the earthquake had struck without warning, sending us tumbling through the darkness as the ground lurched beneath our feet. Lyrien's grip on my arm had been the only thing that kept me upright, and even now, as we stumbled through the tunnel, I could feel the aftershocks still reverberating through the rock. Kaida's voice had been the last thing I'd heard, her cry of alarm echoing through the chaos as the world around us seemed to come apart at the seams. But as we emerged into a larger cavern, the sound of crashing rock and dust grew fainter, replaced by an eerie silence. The air was thick with the acrid smell of dust and ozone, and I could taste the metallic tang of fear on my lips. Lyrien's eyes locked onto mine, her gaze burning with a fierce determination. "We need to keep moving," she mouthed, her voice barely audible over the still echoing rumble of the earthquake. I nodded, my heart still racing from the close call. We'd narrowly escaped disaster, but I knew that the Undercroft was far from finished with us. As we caught our breath and assessed our surroundings, I realized that the cavern we found ourselves in was unlike anything I'd seen before. The ceiling disappeared into darkness, lost in a tangle of glittering crystal formations that refracted the faint light of our torches into a kaleidoscope of colors. The walls were lined with ancient stone carvings, depicting strange creatures and mystical symbols that seemed to dance across the rock. Kaida whistled softly, her eyes wide with wonder. "This place is incredible," she breathed. Lyrian's gaze was already scanning the carvings, her fingers tracing the intricate patterns etched into the stone. "These are from the Aetherian dialect," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "If I can decipher the text, I think I can lead us to the outpost." As she worked, I took the opportunity to scan our surroundings, searching for any signs of danger. The cavern seemed quiet, but I knew that the Undercroft was a place of hidden terrors. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, that unblinking eyes were trained on us from the darkness. And then, without warning, a figure emerged from the shadows. He was tall and gaunt, his skin deathly pale, with eyes that seemed to bore into my very soul. He wore a long, flowing coat that seemed to billow behind him like a dark cloud, and his presence was accompanied by an aura of malevolent power. "Welcome, travelers," he said, his voice low and gravelly. "I've been waiting for you. My name is Arcturus, and I am the guardian of this place." I exchanged a wary glance with Lyrien and Kaida, my hand instinctively reaching for the hilt of my sword. What did Arcturus want from us, and what lay in store for us as we journeyed deeper into the Undercroft? As Arcturus began to circle around us, his eyes never leaving ours, I realized that our journey was about to take a very dark and unexpected turn. "You see, I've been watching you," Arcturus said, his voice dripping with malice. "I've seen the determination in your eyes, the fire that burns within you, and I must say, am impressed." He paused, his gaze lingering on each of us in turn. "But do you have what it takes to survive the Undercroft, to unlock the secrets that lie within?" I felt a shiver run down my spine as Arcturus' words hung in the air. We'd faced down countless dangers already, but something about this place seemed different. The Undercroft seemed to be alive, and it was clear that Arcturus was its master. "We'll take our chances," I said, my voice firm. Arcturus chuckled, the sound sending a chill down my spine. "Very well," he said. "Then let us begin. Follow me, and I will show you the true meaning of fear." With that, he turned and disappeared into the darkness, leaving us to follow him into the unknown. As we trailed behind Arcturus, I couldn't help but feel a sense of trepidation. What lay ahead, and what secrets would we uncover in the depths of the Undercroft? But despite my fears, I knew that we had to press on. We had to uncover the secrets of the outpost, and to do that, we had to trust Arcturus. Or so I thought. As we walked, the air grew colder, the shadows deepening around us. I could feel the weight of the Undercroft's history bearing down on me, the accumulated knowledge and power of the ancient Aetherians. And then, without warning, Arcturus stopped in his tracks. "We're here," he said, his voice low and gravelly. I looked around, trying to see what he saw. And then I saw it, a massive stone door, adorned with intricate carvings and symbols. "This is it," Lyrien breathed. "This must be the entrance to the outpost." Arcturus nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. "Yes," he said, "this is the beginning of your journey. Are you ready?" I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. We'd come so far, and now we were finally here. "Let's do this," I said, my voice firm. And with that, Arcturus pushed open the door, revealing a world of wonder and discovery that would change us forever. As we stepped through the doorway, I felt a sense of awe wash over me. The room was filled with ancient artifacts and strange devices, each one more mysterious than the last. Lyrian's eyes were wide with wonder, her fingers tracing the intricate patterns etched into the devices. "This is incredible," she breathed. Kaida was equally impressed, her eyes scanning the room with a mixture of wonder and caution. "We need to be careful," she said. "We don't know what these devices do." I nodded, my mind racing with the possibilities. We'd uncovered a piece of Aetheria's history, and now we had to unravel its secrets. And as we began to explore the outpost, I realized that our journey was only just beginning. We'd uncovered a small part of the Undercroft's secrets, but there was still so much more to discover. But for now, we had to focus on the task at hand. We had to unlock the secrets of the outpost, and to do that, we had to work together. As we delved deeper into the outpost, I felt a sense of hope rising within me. Wed faced down countless dangers, and now we were finally on the brink of discovery. And as we uncovered the secrets of the outpost, I knew that our journey would take us to places we never thought possible. We'd face down new challenges and we'd forge new alliances. But for now, we had to savor this moment. Wed made it to the outpost, and now we had to make the most of it. As we explored the outpost, I realized that our journey was not just about uncovering secrets, but about forging a new future for Aetheria. We'd faced down countless challenges, but with courage, determination, and hope, we could overcome anything. And as we stood together, united in our quest for knowledge and power, I knew that our journey would take us to places we never thought possible. We'd change the course of history and we'd forge a new destiny for Aetheria. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: we would face it together as a team and as a family. Previously, Arcturus had revealed himself as the guardian of the Undercroft, his malevolent presence sending a chill down our spines as he led us deeper into the labyrinthine tunnels. We'd followed him to a massive stone door adorned with intricate carvings and symbols, which had opened to reveal a world of wonder and discovery within the long-abandoned Aetherian Outpost. As we stepped through the doorway, our eyes had widened in awe at the ancient artifacts and strange devices that filled the room. But as we began to explore the outpost, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, that Arcturus's true intentions were far from pure. Lyrien's fingers danced across the intricate patterns etched into the devices, her eyes shining with excitement, while Kaida's gaze scanned the room with a mixture of wonder and caution. And then, without warning, the devices around us sprang to life, their soft hum filling the air as a holographic display flickered into existence before us. The image of an ancient Aetherian sage appeared, his eyes wise and knowing. "Welcome, travelers," he said, his voice echoing through the room. "I see you've made it past the Guardian's test. But now you must face the true challenge, unlocking the secrets of the outpost." The sage's image gestured to a series of ancient consoles, their surfaces adorned with cryptic symbols and markings. "The knowledge of the Aetherians lies within these consoles. But to access it, you must first decipher the subterranean dialect, the ancient language of the Aetherians." Lyrien's eyes lit up with excitement. "I've studied the dialect," she said. "I think I can help us unlock the consoles." But as she began to work on the consoles, Kaida's voice cut through the air, her tone urgent. "Guys, I think we have a problem. The devices are drawing power from somewhere, and I think it's building up to a critical overload." I exchanged a worried glance with Lyrien. We'd come so far, but now it seemed that time was running out. We had to act fast to prevent a catastrophic explosion and to unlock the secrets of the outpost before it was too late. As we worked to disable the devices and prevent the overload, I realized that our journey was not just about uncovering secrets, but about forging a new future for Aetheria. We'd faced down countless challenges, but with courage, determination, and hope, we could overcome anything. But just as we thought we'd succeeded, a loud alarm blared through the room, and the consoles began to glow with an intense, pulsating light. The air seemed to vibrate with energy, and I felt a strange, tingling sensation in my fingers. Suddenly, the room was filled with a blinding flash of light, and everything went white. When the light faded, I found myself standing in a vast, underground chamber, the ceiling lost in darkness. The walls were lined with glittering crystal formations, and the air was filled with a soft, ethereal glow. But I was not alone. A figure stood before me, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly energy. It was a woman, her skin deathly pale, with hair that flowed like the night sky. "Welcome, Alex," she said, her voice like music. "I've been waiting for you. My name is Erebus, and I am the guardian of the outpost's greatest secret. I felt a shiver run down my spine as Erebus' eyes seemed to bore into my very soul. What secrets lay hidden within the outpost, and what did Erebus want from me? But as I looked into her eyes, I saw something there that gave me hope, a spark of kindness, a glimmer of compassion. And I knew that our journey was far from over. We'd uncovered a piece of Aetheria's history, and now we had to use that knowledge to forge a brighter future. As Erebus began to reveal the secrets of the outpost, I realized that our journey was not just about uncovering secrets, but about forging a new future for Aetheria. Would face down countless challenges, but with courage, determination, and hope, we could overcome anything. And as we stood together, united in our quest for knowledge and power, I knew that our journey would take us to places we never thought possible, would change the course of history, and would forge a new destiny for Aetheria. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: we would face it together as a team and as a family. Previously, Erebus' eyes had seemed to bore into my very soul as she revealed herself as the guardian of the outpost's greatest secret, her presence both captivating and unnerving. The vast, underground chamber with its glittering crystal formations and ethereal glow had felt like a threshold to a new world, and Erebus' words had hinted at the immense power and knowledge that lay hidden within the outpost. As I stood there, frozen in anticipation, Erebus had begun to reveal the secrets of the outpost, and I had felt a sense of wonder and trepidation. But as she spoke, I noticed that Lyrien and Kaida were nowhere to be seen, and a pang of worry shot through me. I turned to Erebus, my eyes scanning the chamber. "Where are my companions?" I asked, my voice firm. Erebus' gaze seemed to soften, and she nodded. "They are safe, Alex. Lyrien is currently working on deciphering the subterranean dialect, and Kaida is assisting her. They are making good progress, but they need your help to unlock the full potential of the consoles." I felt a surge of relief wash over me, followed by a sense of determination. I had to get back to them, to help them unlock the secrets of the outpost. But as I took a step forward, Erebus' hand shot out, her fingers closing around my wrist. "Wait, Alex," she said, her voice low and urgent. "There is something you need to know. The knowledge and power contained within this outpost come with a great cost. The Aetherians who created this place were not just scientists and engineers, but also mystics and spiritual seekers. They tapped into forces beyond their control, and the consequences of their actions still resonate today." I felt a shiver run down my spine as Erebus' words painted a picture of a long-forgotten civilization that had dared to push the boundaries of human knowledge. I thought about the devices that had sprang to life, the holographic display, and the ancient consoles. It all seems so much more complex and nuanced now. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Erebus' eyes seemed to cloud over, and her voice took on a melancholic tone. The Aetherians unleashed a power that they could not contain. It spread across the land, bringing both wonder and destruction. The Shadowhand Clan, which you will soon face, was born from the darkness that followed. They seek to reclaim the power that was lost, and they will stop at nothing to achieve their goal. As Erebus spoke, the chamber seemed to grow darker, the shadows deepening and twisting around us. I felt a sense of foreboding wash over me, and I knew that we were not just fighting for knowledge and power, but for the very future of Aetheria. But even in the face of such danger, I felt a spark of hope. Erebus' words had hinted at a deeper purpose, a chance to redeem the past and forge a new path forward. I looked at Erebus, and I saw a glimmer of determination in her eyes. "What can we do?" I asked, my voice firm. Erebus' gaze seemed to bore into mine, and I felt a surge of energy flow through me. "You can choose to use the knowledge and power of the outpost for the greater good. You can work to heal the wounds of the past, to bring balance to the forces that were unleashed. Or you can succumb to the temptation of power and risk repeating the mistakes of the Aetherians." The choice was clear, and I knew what I had to do. I took a deep breath, and I made my decision. I would use the knowledge and power of the outpost to forge a brighter future for Aetheria. As I spoke my intentions, the chamber seemed to brighten, the shadows receding as the ethereal glow grew stronger. Erebus' eyes seemed to shine with a newfound warmth, and she nodded. "Then let us begin," she said, her voice filled with a sense of purpose. "Let us unlock the secrets of the outpost, and let us forge a new future for Aetheria." Together, we set out to unlock the consoles, to decipher the subterranean dialect, and to harness the power of the outpost. The journey ahead would be fraught with danger, but I was no longer alone. I had Erebus, Lyrien, Kaida, and the knowledge of the outpost on my side. And with courage, determination, and hope, I knew that we could overcome anything. As we worked, the chamber seemed to come alive, the crystal formations glowing with an intense, pulsating light. The air vibrated with energy, and I felt a sense of wonder and awe wash over me. We were not just unlocking secrets, we were unlocking a new future. And I knew that our journey would take us to places we never thought possible, that we would change the course of history, and that we would forge a new destiny for Aetheria. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: we would face it together, as a team and as a family. And with that knowledge, I felt a sense of peace, a sense of purpose, and a sense of hope that I had never felt before. We were in this together, and we would emerge victorious. Previously, Erebus' ominous warning still lingered in my mind, her words painting a vivid picture of the catastrophic consequences of exploiting the Aetherian Outpost's power. The revelation that the enigmatic leader of the ruthless Shadowhand Clan sought to reclaim the lost power had left me reeling, and the weight of responsibility to forge a new path forward felt crushing. As I stood alongside Erebus, Lyrien, and Kaida, I knew that our journey was far from over and the fate of Aetheria hung precariously in the balance. But it was the haunting memory of Erebus' parting words that shook me to my core. The Shadowhand Clan will stop at nothing to claim the outpost's secrets. You must be prepared to face them and the darkness within yourselves. The warning sent a shiver down my spine, and I couldn't shake the feeling that our quest was being watched and that the stakes were higher than I could have ever imagined. As we ventured deeper into the outpost, navigating through a maze of ancient consoles and crumbling infrastructure, the air grew thick with an eerie, pulsating energy. The crystal formations, once a marvel of Aetherian technology, now seemed to loom over us like sentinels, their facets glinting with an otherworldly light. Lyrien's eyes sparkled with excitement as she worked to decipher the subterranean dialect, her fingers flying across the console with a newfound confidence. Kaida, meanwhile, proved to be a valuable asset, her resourcefulness and quick thinking allowing us to overcome obstacles that would have otherwise proven insurmountable. But despite our progress, the weight of Erebus' warning hung over us like a specter. We knew that we were not just racing against the Shadowhand Clan, but also against the very fabric of time itself. The outpost's power, once harnessed, could either forge a new era of peace and prosperity or plunge Aetheria into an abyss of darkness. As we worked, the chamber began to reveal its secrets. Ancient holographic displays flickered to life, casting an ethereal glow over the room. The air vibrated with energy, and I could feel the weight of the outpost's knowledge bearing down upon me. It was as if the Aetherians themselves were guiding us, urging us to unlock the secrets that lay hidden. But with each step forward, the shadows seemed to grow longer, as if the very darkness itself was reaching out to snuff out our quest. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being herded toward some unknown fate, that the outpost's power was not just a tool, but a test. And then, just as we were making progress, the chamber was rocked by a seismic shift. The ground trembled and the consoles shuddered, casting us all off balance. Lyrien cried out, clinging to Kaida as the room seemed to tilt and spin. I grabbed onto Erebus, my heart racing with fear. "What's happening?" I shouted above the din. Erebus' eyes locked onto mine, her gaze steady. "The outpost is responding to our presence. It's a sign that we're getting close to unlocking its secrets. But as the chamber continued to shudder, I realized that we were not alone. The sound of footsteps echoed through the corridors, growing louder with each passing moment. The Shadowhand Clan had found us. In that moment, I knew that our journey would take a critical turn. We would face our greatest challenge yet, and the fate of Aetheria would hang in the balance. But even as the darkness closed in around us, I felt a spark of hope. We had come too far to turn back now. Together, we would face whatever lay ahead, and we would emerge victorious. With a deep breath, I steeled myself for the battle ahead. The outpost's power, once harnessed, would be a game changer, and I knew that we would not let it fall into the wrong hands. The Shadowhand Clan would have to go through us first. As the footsteps drew closer, I looked at my companions, and I knew that we were ready. We had forged a bond of trust and determination. Together, we would face the unknown, and we would forge a new future for Aetheria. The battle ahead would be fierce, but I was no longer afraid. I had my friends, and I had the outpost's power on my side, and with that knowledge, I knew that we could overcome anything. The seismic shifts grew more intense, the chamber shuddering and groaning as if it were alive. But we stood firm, a united front against the unknown. And as the footsteps drew closer, I knew that we would face whatever lay ahead, together and with unyielding resolve. The darkness closed in, the sound of clashing steel echoing through the corridors. The battle for the outpost had begun, and I knew that our journey would never be the same again. But even in the midst of chaos, I felt a sense of peace, a sense of purpose. We were not just fighting for power, we were fighting for a brighter future. And with that knowledge, I charged forward, my companions by my side. The fate of Aetheria hung in the balance, and we would not let it fall. We would rise to the challenge, and we would emerge victorious. The battle ahead would be fierce, but I was ready. I had my friends, and I had the outpost's power on my side. And with that knowledge, I knew that we could overcome anything. Previously, the Shadowhand Clan's ominous presence had been signaled by the sound of approaching footsteps, and the chamber had been rocked by a seismic shift, as if the outpost itself was responding to our presence. Erebus' warning that we were getting close to unlocking the outpost's secrets had been abruptly interrupted by the threat of the Shadowhand Clan. The revelation that we were not alone had left us reeling, and the weight of responsibility to protect the outpost's power had fallen squarely on our shoulders. As the clash of steel echoed through the corridors, I knew that our journey would take a critical turn. The battle for the outpost had begun, and I steeled myself for the fight ahead. But just as the chaos was about to engulf us, a blast of energy exploded from the depths of the chamber, sending us all flying. When I struggled to my feet, I saw that Lyrien had been knocked unconscious, her body limp and still. Kaida was frantically working to revive her, while Erebus stood guard, her eyes scanning the corridors for any sign of our enemies. I rushed to Lyrien's side, my heart racing with fear. "Lyrien, no!" I cried, shaking her gently. "Please, wake up!" But it was too late. Lyrien's eyes flickered open, and she gazed up at me with a confused expression. What happened?" she stammered. Kaida helped Lyrien to her feet, and we quickly assessed our situation. The seismic shifts had subsided, and an eerie silence had fallen over the chamber. But I knew that it was a temporary reprieve. The Shadowhand Clan would regroup and launch a fresh attack. As we tended to Lyrien's wounds, I noticed a strange glow emanating from the console behind her. The ancient holographic displays flickered back to life, casting an ethereal glow over the room. "Look," Lyrien whispered, her eyes fixed on the console. "It's a map of the outpost's inner sanctum." The display revealed a labyrinthine network of tunnels and chambers leading to a central core. I felt a surge of excitement and trepidation. We were close to unlocking the outpost's secrets, but the Shadowhand Clan would stop at nothing to claim it for themselves. "We need to move," I said, my voice low and urgent. "We can't let the Shadowhand Clan get their hands on this technology. Erebus nodded in agreement. "I know a way. Follow me." She led us through a narrow tunnel, the air thick with the smell of ozone and smoke. We navigated through a maze of twisting corridors, avoiding deadly traps and pitfalls. Kaida proved to be a valuable asset, her knowledge of the outpost's layout allowing us to bypass treacherous areas. As we progressed, the tunnels began to narrow, and the air grew thick with an eerie, pulsating energy. I could feel the weight of the outpost's power bearing down upon me. We were getting close. Suddenly, Erebus stopped in her tracks, her eyes locked onto something ahead. "Wait," she whispered. "Do you hear that?" I strained my ears, and soon I heard it too. A low hum, like the purring of a machine, grew louder with each passing moment. The air vibrated with energy, and I could feel the ground trembling beneath my feet. "What is it?" Kaida whispered, her voice barely audible. Erebus' eyes gleamed with a fierce determination. "It's the heart of Aetheria, the source of the outpost's power." As we rounded a corner, a massive chamber unfolded before us. At its center, a glowing crystal formation pulsed with an otherworldly energy, the heart of Aetheria. But we were not alone. The Shadowhand Clan's leader, a towering figure with eyes that burned with an inner fire, stood before the crystal, his hand reaching out to claim its power. "You fools," he sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "You think you can stop me? I will unlock the secrets of the outpost, and with its power, I will conquer Aetheria." I knew that we had to act fast. The Shadowhand Clan's leader would stop at nothing to claim the outpost's power. I looked at my companions, and I knew that we were ready. With a deep breath, I steeled myself for the battle ahead. We would not let the Shadowhand Clan claim the outpost's power. We would fight to the end, and we would emerge victorious. The battle ahead would be fierce, but I was no longer afraid. I had my friends, and I had the outpost's power on my side. And with that knowledge, I knew that we could overcome anything. As the Shadowhand Clan's leader raised his hand to claim the crystal, I charged forward, my companions by my side. The fate of Aetheria hung in the balance, and we would not let it fall. We would rise to the challenge, and we would emerge victorious. The battle for the outpost had begun, and I knew that our journey would never be the same again. But even in the midst of chaos, I felt a sense of peace, a sense of purpose. We were not just fighting for power, we were fighting for a brighter future. And with that knowledge, I clashed with the Shadowhand Clan's leader, my sword flashing in the dim light of the chamber. The battle raged on, the outcome hanging in the balance. But I was no longer afraid. I had my friends, and I had the outpost's power on my side, and with that knowledge, I knew that we could overcome anything. As the fight wore on, I began to notice something strange. The Shadowhand Clan's leader seemed to be weakening, his powers dwindling. I realized that the outpost's power was not just a tool, but a test. A test of character, of courage, and of determination. And in that moment, I knew that we would emerge victorious. We had passed the test, and we had proven ourselves worthy of the outpost's power. With a final blow, the Shadowhand Clan's leader fell to the ground, defeated. The chamber fell silent, the only sound, the heavy breathing of my companions. I looked at them, and I knew that we had forged a bond of trust and determination. Together, we had overcome the impossible, and we had emerged victorious. The outpost's power was ours, and with it, we would forge a new future for Aetheria, a future of peace, of prosperity, and of hope. And as we stood there, bathed in the glow of the heart of Aetheria, I knew that our journey was far from over. But I was no longer afraid. I had my friends, and I had the outpost's power on my side. And with that knowledge, I knew that we could overcome anything. But as we basked in the glow of our victory, a new question arose. What would we do with the outpost's power? Would we use it to forge a new era of peace and prosperity, or would we succumb to its corrupting influence? The answer, I knew, lay in the heart of Aetheria itself. And as we stood there, poised on the threshold of a new era, I knew that our journey would take a critical turn. We would face new challenges, new obstacles, and new temptations. But I was no longer afraid. I had my friends, and I had the outpost's power on my side. And with that knowledge, I knew that we could overcome anything. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: we would face it together, as a team, and with the power of the outpost on our side. And with that knowledge, I knew that we would emerge victorious, no matter what lay ahead. The battle may have been won, but the war was far from over. And as we stood there, ready to face whatever lay ahead, I knew that our journey would be a long and difficult one. But I was ready. I had my friends, and I had the outpost's power on my side. And with that knowledge, I knew that we could overcome anything. The darkness closed in, but I was no longer afraid. I had the light of hope, and I had the power of the outpost on my side. And with that knowledge, I knew that we would emerge victorious, no matter what lay ahead. The journey ahead would be long and difficult, but I was ready. I had my friends, and I had the outpost's power on my side, and with that knowledge, I knew that we could overcome anything. And so, with a deep breath, I steeled myself for the challenges ahead. We would face them together, as a team, and with the power of the outpost on our side. And with that knowledge, I knew that we would emerge victorious, no matter what lay ahead. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: we would face it together, and we would emerge victorious. And with that knowledge, I knew that our journey would be a long and glorious one, filled with challenges, obstacles, and triumphs. But I was ready. I had my friends, and I had the outpost's power on my side. And with that knowledge, I knew that we could overcome anything.